Margaret Newman was born on October 10, 1933, in Memphis, Tennessee. In 1954, she earned her first bachelor's degree in home economics and English from Baylor University. During that time, she became the primary caregiver of her mother, who became ill with Lou Gehrig's disease. Dr. Newman felt a call to nursing for a number of years. In 1962, she received her bachelor's in nursing from the University of Tennessee. A year after receiving her bachelor's degree in nursing, she entered graduate study at the University of California, receiving her master's in 1964. She spent the next years in graduate study and teaching at New York University, receiving her doctorates in nursing in 1971. She began to develop her ideas and research about nursing theory as both a student and colleague of Martha Rogers. In 1978, Dr. Newman attended a nursing theory conference where she presented her ideas on theory of health for the very first time.
I remember sitting down at my kitchen table and saying, okay, what do I believe about health? And of course, the first thing that came up was the belief that disease is a meaningful aspect of health, because I had been through that with my mother, and I knew that simply having a disease doesn't make you unhealthy. See, if pattern is basic and identifies the person, then the disease that manifests itself is a manifestation of that pattern. And that was a real revelation to me, that you really couldn't separate disease out and make it external or make it something that you fight against, because it's a manifestation of your pattern and you have to get in touch with that.
How has your theory of health as expanding consciousness influenced the way nurses think about health and about nursing?
What I hear from nurses when they call me is that it explicates their experience. It's not something that it's not a theory that they go out to test or they go out to apply, but when they read about it, this is what they've been doing. This is an explication of what they have been doing. I'm defining consciousness in a way very similar to the way Bentov defined it. He defined it as the quantity and quality of interaction with the environment. And I think I've added to that the informational capacity of the system. And that includes things like the immune system, all of the information of the physiological system, because that is part of our ability to interact with the environment. Very often people think when I use the term consciousness that I'm thinking of it in a cognitive sense or an affective sense. And those things are included because that's part of the information too, but I'm really talking about it in terms of the total.
Okay, now that we have heard it from Margaret Newman, let's break down the key concepts.
Movement. People are constantly changing through time and space, which is movement, and this shows a unique pattern of reality. The key to understanding the nature of one's reality is through awareness of self. An individual can convey his or her awareness of self through the movement involved in language, posture, and body movement. This movement through space is crucial to the development of a concept of time in man and is utilized by man as a measure of time.
Time and space.
Space, a final frontier.
Psych! Let's get back to the theory. Margaret defines time as a function of movement, a measurement of consciousness, and it centers primarily on time as perceived by the individual or client. We're so enslaved by looking at a clock for time, but in this theory, time is focused on what it means to the patient. Space, on the other hand, is the unbound, three-dimensional expanse in which all matter exists. It is the region that lies beyond the atmosphere and all that it contains. Time and space together has a complementary relationship. For example, when one's life space is decreased as by either physical or social immobility, one's time is increased. To be a nurse is not to react to a client, but to be with him or her in a sharing relationship that is intrinsically related to the concepts of time and space.
Pattern identifies the wholeness of the person. Some of these patterns include family interaction, past experience, religious and spiritual beliefs, symptoms, illness and/or disease, atmosphere between the patient and nurse, habits, addictions, and so on. Manifestations of such patterns are exchanging, relating, communicating, valuing, feeling, and knowing. The nurse-client relationship improves as patterns emerge over time. An example of pattern is the energy between the client and their family, which can potentially bring other patterns of that individual to light. Pattern recognition is a task for nursing professionals to recognize patterns and relate to them in a sincere way. Pattern recognition is the key to gaining a higher level of consciousness referred to as a network of consciousness. The partnership between nurse and client encourages exploration of patterns that exist for that person as a unique individual. Recognizing patterns within ourselves as well as our clients is a process of understanding and expanding consciousness in the present and as well as in the future. The nurse helps people discover the power within to obtain a higher level of organization to improve the quality of life.
Consciousness is defined as the informational capacity of the system, or human being, and the ability of the system to interact with the environment. Consciousness includes not only the cognitive and affective awareness normally associated with consciousness, but also the interconnectedness of the entire living system. This includes many factors of our physiology, such as the immune system. This pattern of information, which is the consciousness of the system, is part of a larger, undivided pattern of an expanding universe.
How does this apply to us? Let's take a look at the 4 meta-paradigms. Nursing. The nurse facilitates pattern recognition by forming relationships with the client at critical points in their lives and connecting with them. Person. The definition of a person has been expanded to include family and community, but as individuals, person is identified by their own pattern of consciousness. Environment. Environment is described as being the larger whole, which is beyond the consciousness of the individual. Health. Health is a fusion of disease and non-disease. Removal of the illness will not change the pattern of the individual.